Part 1. Good evening, mystery lovers. My name is Detective Elias Thorne, a private investigator with over 20 years chasing shadows in the fog-shrouded streets of London and beyond. What you're about to hear is a case that still keeps me awake at night: the Blackwood Manor murder of 1925. A locked room killing, a cursed inheritance, and a family rotten with secrets. Every word is drawn from the files I kept locked away for decades. Settle in, because once you step inside Blackwood Manor, there's no leaving unchanged. The call came on a rain-lashed October morning. Inspector Hargrove of Scotland Yard sounded exhausted over the crackling telephone line. "Thorne," he said, "we've got a nasty one. Sir Reginald Blackwood, dead in his study. Door locked from the inside, windows bolted, no weapon found. The family's already tearing each other apart. They're asking for an independent eye. You interested?" I was. Sir Reginald Blackwood was no ordinary aristocrat. His fortune came from spice and opium trades in the Far East, and darker rumors followed him home, tales of ancient artifacts smuggled in tea crates, objects said to carry curses from forgotten temples. Blackwood Manor sat isolated in the misty hills of Devon, a Gothic pile of stone towers and gargoyles that seemed to leer at visitors. I arrived just after noon. The gravel drive crunched under my tires as the manor loomed ahead, half shrouded in fog. A young constable met me at the door, pale and twitchy. "Glad you're here, sir. The family, they're not taking it well." Lady Evelyn Blackwood awaited in the grand foyer. At 60, she remained strikingly beautiful, high cheekbones, silver-streaked black hair pulled into a severe bun. Yet her violet eyes were red-rimmed, and her black morning dress couldn't hide the slight tremor in her hands. "Detective Thorne," she said coolly, extending a gloved hand. "My husband was murdered. I want the monster found." Behind her stood the heirs. First, Captain Victor Blackwood, Reginald's eldest son, tall, broad-shouldered, with a military bearing and a scar running down his left cheek from the Great War. His uniform was immaculate, but his eyes darted suspiciously. Next, Clarissa Blackwood, the daughter, 28, flame-haired, dressed in fashionable emerald silk that seemed almost defiant against the morning atmosphere. She smoked a cigarette in a long holder, exhaling slowly as she sized me up. Then there was Dr. Julian Harrow, Reginald's nephew and personal physician, a thin, bespectacled man in his 40s with nervous fingers that constantly adjusted his tie. He carried a black medical bag like a shield. Finally, Miss Beatrice Lang, Reginald's secretary for the past 5 years. Young, sharp-featured, dressed plainly in gray. Her dark eyes missed nothing. And lurking in the background was Mr. Graves, the ancient butler who had served the family for 50 years, stooped, expressionless, moving like a ghost through the corridors. Inspector Hargrove led me to the study. The door was heavy oak, locked from the inside with the key still in the lock. The windows were barred and bolted shut, no sign of tampering. Sir Reginald lay face down on the Persian rug, a single stab wound between the shoulder blades. Blood had soaked through his smoking jacket. No weapon in sight. "Time of death between midnight and 2 a.m., Hargrove said. "Maid found him at 6 when she brought morning tea. Everyone claims they were asleep." I knelt beside the body. The wound was precise, straight through to the heart. The dagger, if that's what it was, had been removed cleanly. I noticed something odd, a faint smell of jasmine in the air, unusual for an English study in autumn. On the desk lay the will, unsigned. Reginald had apparently been reviewing it when he died. The document was explosive. Victor inherited the manor, but only if he married within a year. Clarissa received a trust fund but lost everything if she continued her bohemian lifestyle. Julian was cut out entirely unless he repaid a substantial debt to the estate. Beatrice was granted a mysterious sealed envelope to be opened only upon Reginald's death, and Lady Evelyn. She received nothing unless all other heirs predeceased her. Motive dripped from every page. I began interviews immediately. Lady Evelyn claimed she retired at 10, took a sleeping draught, and heard nothing. Victor said he'd been drinking brandy in the library until 1, then went straight to bed. Clarissa laughed bitterly. She'd been in the conservatory painting until the early hours, alone. Julian insisted he was in his room reading medical journals. Beatrice said she locked up the house at 11 and retired to her small room in the servants' wing. Graves, the butler, confirmed everyone's movements, or claimed to. But something didn't add up. How did the killer enter and leave a locked room? And where was the murder weapon? As night fell over Blackwood Manor, the rain intensified, drumming. Part 2. Welcome back, truth seekers. Detective Elias Thorne here, continuing the chilling case of the Blackwood Manor murder. If you're just joining us, go back to Part 1, because from here, every detail matters, and the lies are piling up like autumn leaves. The red silk thread haunted me. I pocketed it discreetly before rejoining the family in the drawing room. Tension crackled like static. Clarissa was pouring herself another gin, Victor paced like a caged tiger, and Lady Evelyn sat ramrod straight, staring into the fire. I decided to start pressing. Lady Evelyn, I began gently. The will is unusual. Your husband left you nothing unless the others died first. That must have been devastating. Her lips thinned. Reginald was a cruel man, Detective. Our marriage was one of convenience long ago. I learned to live with disappointment. Yet you discovered the body. You entered the study first? I knocked for morning tea. When there was no answer, I used my key. We all have keys to the study. It was a family rule. Interesting. So the locked door meant less than it seemed. I turned to Victor. Captain Blackwood, you served in Mesopotamia with your father's trading company before the war, correct? There were rumors of artifacts acquired under questionable circumstances. His jaw tightened. Father collected curios. Nothing illegal. Yet one of those curios, a jade dagger from a Burmese temple, was reportedly stolen years ago. The description matches a wound like your father's. Victor's scar seemed to whiten. Coincidence? Clarissa laughed sharply. Oh please, Victor. We all know Father believed that dagger was cursed. He kept bragging about it being the perfect murder weapon, disappears after striking because of some pagan ritual. Superstitious nonsense. The room went still. Dr. Julian Harrow cleared his throat. Actually, Uncle Reginald was convinced many of his pieces carried spiritual weight. He even consulted mediums. That's why he changed the will so often, afraid of dying cursed. Beatrice Lang spoke for the first time, voice soft but clear. Sir Reginald received a threatening letter 3 days ago. Anonymous. It mentioned the Jade Serpent returning for blood payment. She produced an envelope from her pocket, delivered to me only now. The paper was heavy, expensive. Inside, you stole what was never yours. The serpent sees all. Payment comes at midnight. Postmarked London. That night, I searched Reginald's private files. Hidden behind a false panel, I found correspondence with an antiquities dealer named Armand Vale, debts unpaid, threats exchanged. And a photograph, a jade-handled dagger with a serpent coiled around the hilt. Missing from its display case in the study. At 2 a.m., unable to sleep, I prowled the corridors. The house creaked like an old ship. Passing Clarissa's room, I heard voices, hushed, angry. I pressed my ear to the door. You promised me my share if I helped, Clarissa hissed. Keep your voice down, Victor snapped. Father suspected us both. Now with him gone. The floorboard creaked under my foot. Silence inside. I moved on quickly. Morning brought a shocking development. The missing dagger was found, wrapped in a scarf and hidden in Dr. Julian Harrow's medical bag during a routine search the police conducted at my request. Julian turned ghostly pale when confronted. I don't know how it got there. Someone is framing me. The blade was clean, but forensic tests later confirmed traces of Reginald's blood in the filigree. Julian was arrested pending further inquiry. But I wasn't convinced. The framing was too obvious. And Julian had been genuinely terrified. That afternoon, alone in the library, Beatrice Lang approached me. Detective, she whispered, there's something you need to see. But not here. She led me to the old conservatory, a glass room overgrown with exotic plants, heavy with that jasmine scent I'd noticed in the study. Vines twisted up iron frames, orchids bloomed in unnatural profusion. Sir Reginald imported these from Asia, she said. He believed plants could channel spirits. Then she pointed to a loose floor tile. Beneath, a narrow crawl space leading under the study wall. My pulse raced. A secret passage. Only 3 people knew about this, Beatrice said quietly. Sir Reginald, Graves the butler, and me. Why tell me now? Because I think I know who used it. But I need protection. There's more. Sir Reginald wasn't just murdered for money. He was planning to expose something terrible the family did 20 years ago. Something involving Victor and Clarissa's mother. Lady Evelyn wasn't their real mother? Beatrice's eyes filled with fear. She died under mysterious circumstances. Officially suicide. But Reginald kept evidence. He was going to reveal it all at the will reading. Before she could say more, a shadow moved behind the glass. We weren't alone. This is Detective Elias Thorne. The web is tightening, and someone just. Part 3. You've stayed with me this far, brilliant. Detective Elias Thorne again, bringing you the explosive conclusion to the Blackwood Manor murder. Everything converges now. Hold tight. The shadow in the conservatory vanished before I could pursue. Beatrice was shaking. They know I told you, she whispered. I escorted her back to the main house and immediately confronted Graves the butler. The old man's mask slipped for the first time. His eyes flickered with something like fear. Graves, the secret passage under the conservatory. You knew about it. He inclined his head. Master Reginald showed me years ago. For emergencies. Was murder an emergency? His face remained stone. That evening, with Julian still in custody and storm clouds gathering again, I gathered everyone in the study, the scene of the crime. The room felt charged, as if Reginald's ghost watched from the shadows. I began laying out the facts. The killer entered through a secret passage only 3 people knew existed. The murder weapon was a jade dagger tied to family legend. The motive appears to be the will, but that's too simple. Sir Reginald was about to expose a 20-year-old secret. Lady Evelyn went very still. 20 years ago, I continued, the First Lady Blackwood, Victor and Clarissa's mother, died of an apparent overdose. Ruled suicide. But Reginald discovered evidence it was murder. He kept silent to protect the family reputation, until guilt and illness made him decide to confess everything. Victor's hand moved toward his pocket. Captain Blackwood, I said sharply. Don't. He froze. The evidence was in that sealed envelope left to Miss Lang. Beatrice, please. Trembling, she opened it. Inside, letters, a locket with poison residue, and a confession signed by Lady Evelyn. Gasps echoed. Evelyn rose slowly, regal even now. You have no idea what that woman put Reginald through. She was leaving him, taking the children. I couldn't allow the family to be destroyed. Clarissa stared at her stepmother in horror. You killed my mother? And now you killed father to keep it buried? Victor roared. No, I said quietly. Lady Evelyn didn't kill Reginald. All eyes turned to me. The locked room was a deliberate misdirection. The killer wanted us focused on impossible entry while hiding the real method. The passage explains entry, but not how the dagger vanished and reappeared. I turned to Beatrice. You discovered the passage because you were having an affair with Sir Reginald. He trusted you completely. You knew about the coming revelation. Your own past was tied to the First Lady Blackwood's death. You were her personal maid, weren't you? You supplied the poison all those years ago, for Evelyn. Beatrice's face crumpled. But Reginald forgave you, planned to protect you in the will. Until he learned you'd been stealing artifacts to sell on the black market. That threatening letter? You wrote it yourself to throw suspicion outward. I held up the red silk thread. From the scarf you used to wrap the dagger before planting it on Julian, who you drugged that night to ensure he wouldn't have an alibi. Beatrice backed away. You can't prove. The jasmine scent, I said. From the conservatory orchids. You crawled through, stabbed Reginald while he sat at his desk. He never saw you coming from behind. You removed the dagger, hid it temporarily in the passage, then later planted it on Julian. But you left that thread, and the faint scent. Graves stepped forward silently, and locked the study door. Beatrice smiled then, a terrible, broken smile. You're clever, detective. But Graves has served this family faithfully. He won't let you leave with that knowledge. The old butler produced a revolver. Time slowed. Victor lunged. Clarissa screamed. In the chaos, I drew my own service pistol. Graves, I warned. It's over. The butler's hand trembled. Miss Beatrice, she's like a daughter to me. After all these years protecting the family. Beatrice snatched a letter opener from the desk, rushing toward me. I fired once. She fell, wounded but alive. Graves dropped the gun, sinking to his knees. Forgive me, he whispered, to the family, to the house, to ghosts long silent. Later, as dawn broke pale over the manor, Beatrice confessed everything. Greed, fear, and twisted loyalty. The Jade Serpent dagger was recovered from its true hiding place, dissolved in acid by Beatrice to destroy evidence, but fragments remained. Lady Evelyn was arrested for the first murder. Victor and Clarissa inherited a shattered legacy. Julian was released, broken but free. As I drove away from Blackwood Manor for the last time, fog lifting to reveal the hills, I couldn't shake the feeling that some curses are real, not in jade or spirits, but in the darkness families hide from one another. This is Detective Elias Thorne, signing off on the Blackwood case. Thank you for staying until the end. If secrets and shadows are your poison, subscribe and ring that bell. Good night.